Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to discuss about the phylum Protozoa, which comes under the paper 1, that is animal diversity, mainly non-chordates. So already we have discussed about the general characteristics of protozoans and their classification up to their classes. So in this session, mainly we will concentrate on the structure and life history of malarial parasite and human parasitic protozoan, that is Entamoeba histolytica. So we all are familiar with the word malaria. So it is nothing but a type of disease which is spread by the mosquito female mosquito bite. So usually, but not only mosquito is spreading, you should know that there is a vector which causes this malaria, that is Plasmodium vivax. And one more disease we will be studying, that is Entamoeba histolytica, which causes dysentery. So these are the two life history and their cycles about their structures and their variations. So first let's begin with the first, that is Plasmodium vivax, which causes malaria. So this Plasmodium vivax, it belongs to kingdom Protista, phylum Protozoa and class Sporozoa because it produces spores, and genus Plasmodium, species vivax. So about its habit and habitat, Plasmodium, they are nothing but the intracellular sporozoan parasite which causes malaria, and they live in RBC and liver cells of man. So that is why the total blood or the immune content will be suppressed by this protozoan, that is which causes spores or the sporozoans, that is carried away or it is transmitted by the mosquito, that is female Anopheles mosquito. So this is the cycle. So usually what happens then? So in life cycle of Plasmodium, it requires two hosts. So we can tell that is digenetic. So why it is digenetic? It requires two hosts. One is in mosquito and one in human. So keep this picture in mind. Once again I will show this picture after once I explain all the theory section. So the structure of the Plasmodium, they are of different stages and they differ from one stage to another stage. The fully grown malarial parasite is amoeboid and uninucleated. So it is also called as trophozoite structure. So they are mature spores. And these trophozoites, usually what they do? They are surrounded by double layered plasma lemma. And these double layered plasma lemma, there the cytoplasm will be containing the different types of cell organelles. Maybe the granules, ER, ribosomes, mitochondria, vesicles and vacuoles. Also the hemozoin. So hemozoin is a content which causes the irritation also. So cytoplasm content in nucleus, they are having nucleolus and granular nucleoplasm. So this is the structure about the trophozoite structure. But this is the structure of sporozoite. So sporozoites are slender and the cell organelles are not much evolved or much matured, and these sporozoites are elongated in structure. But when you see the structure of the trophozoite structure, they are much larger and they are circular in structure. So the difference between sporozoite and trophozoite can be an important question. So learn the diagram correctly. So next, coming to the life cycle of the Plasmodium. So as I said, it is a digenetic. So digenetic means it completes its life cycle in humans as well as mosquitoes. So first is the primary or definitive host. So definitive host is the female Anopheles mosquito and secondary or intermediate host will be the man. So this life cycle, it carries in three different phases: asexual zygogony, sexual gomogony and asexual sporogony. So let's see in detail. So if you study this cycle is well and good, or the previous one cycle which I have showed, so that will be enough. So this explains the total variations and what type of explanation if you want to give. If you study this structure clearly, then you can easily score around 7 marks. Very important question in your examination point of view. So they can ask the life cycle of Plasmodium vivax. So let's begin with that. So malaria, we know it is an infection which begins when the infected female, that is Anopheles mosquito, bites and which injects the Plasmodium parasites in the form of sporozoites, because they are the immature. But once they enter into the male, that time they pass to the human liver cells and they multiply asexually and they start to become the trophozoite structure, means they enlarge. So now the trophozoite structure, the immature forms, they are called as merozoites, and they are released into the liver cells and they settle down. So once they are settled down, they transfer or they transmit from one region to another region by the blood circulation. And this cycle is repeated, and later the infected blood cells leave the cycle of asexual multiplication and they develop into parasitic form, they called as gametocytes. And now the gametocytes, they enter into sexual phase. So once the mosquito bites to the infected man, the ingested gametocytes, they develop further into mature sex cells called as gametes. Once the maturation sex cells takes place, they are fertilized in the female gamete that develop into actively moving ookinetes and they form oocytes. So once the oocytes are formed, the active sporozoites will be developed. So oocytes, once they are developed, they burst open and they release the sporozoites. So this cycle will continue again. So once the cycle of human infection begin, again the mosquito bites and the cycle will be fastened. So this is about the complete life cycle of Plasmodium. So now if you remember the first diagram which I have shown, so see the cycle in mosquito, what happens? First the mosquito sucks the blood, microgametes are transmitted and they are matured into macrogametes. Zygote will be formed. Once the zygote is formed, ookinetes and oocytes will be formed. The oocytes will be burst open and they are transmitted into the sporozoites, and these sporozoites, they transmit into the human blood cells when they bite, and these sporozoites are transferred into human blood cells, and during the blood circulation they enter into the liver cells, and in liver what happens, there is the maturation of the cells, that is merozoites, and later they attain the trophozoite stage and sexually they will be matured, that is gametocytes. Once the erythrocytes, that is RBC cells, are ruptured, then the gametocytes will be formed. So this is the life cycle about the Plasmodium. So please write and study the structure or the diagram. So very important. So it will be asked for 7 marks in your examination. So next, coming to structure and life history of human parasite, that is the Entamoeba histolytica. So you are familiar with the E. coli. So E. coli also belongs to the same family, but this Entamoeba histolytica, it causes dysentery in humans. So Entamoeba histolytica, it is a type of parasitic protozoan and which is responsible for amoebic dysentery and invasive extraintestinal amoebiasis. Very important terminology. So instead of telling which causes dysentery, which ruptures our immune system and all, you can tell invasive extraintestinal amoebiasis. It causes invasive extraintestinal amoebiasis. So please stick on to the scientific terminologies which will lead you to take good marks. And the examples are Entamoeba coli and Entamoeba disper, Entamoeba hartmanni. So these are the examples. So Entamoeba histolytica also is their family members. So these are the structures. So please study the trophozoite structure, very important. So you can see the nucleus is prominent and chromatin is present, karyosome, so many different types of spores are present, cyst will be there because encystment also takes place here. So let's begin with this. So what happens here now? So mode of transmission is fecal-oral system. By not washing your hands if you are having food, when you play in mud and all, so this Entamoeba hystolytica, it enters your body and it enters by contaminated food or contaminated water, and also the cyst formation takes place, that is quadranucleate cyst. As I said, trophozoite will be having quadranucleate cyst, and these trophozoites, if they are ingested, would not survive once they are exposed for the gastric environment. So now the life cycle of the Entamoeba hystolytica, what happens? The first maturation, that is quadranucleate cyst, will be formed, and these quadranucleate cysts, they are resistant to the gastric environment. Hence they pass unaltered through the stomach. So they are not killed there. So they are unaltered through the stomach. So here now, during the process, what happens? During the process, the amoebiasis, there the intestine, which is caused by the monogenic protozoans, that is Entamoeba hystolytica. So once the food is taken, the Entamoeba hystolytica enters. The infection occurs by cyst, may be present in the stool of infected person. It also infects the cat, dogs also. So now inside the intestine, the cyst germinates for and releases 4 to 8 entamoebas, and they secrete the enzyme called as cytolysin. So this cytolysin, what it do? The enzyme partially dissolves the wall of large intestine. So once the partially dissolving of large intestine takes place, the cells of the large intestine will be decreased and the digestion will be altered. The feeding stage of parasite is called as trophozoite. So now what happens? The trophozoites, they stop feeding and cyst formation takes place. Once they enter pre-cystic stage, that is called as minuta formation. So once the minuta formation takes place, what happens? Again, they are released through the defecation or by when the undigested food is thrown, that time they will come out and again they enter into the mud or contaminated, it contaminates the water or anything, and later this cycle will be continued. So remember, first what happens once ingestion takes place, maturation of cyst takes place, excitation, trophozoites formation, multiplication of trophozoites, and trophozoites also invade the intestinal mucosa. So as I said, in the large intestine, the cells will be decreased and our digestion will be altered. And this invasive infection, what happens? They enter into the bloodstream and they also destroy the liver cells and the lung cells. So the formation of bile or our respiration is also altered. At one stage, what happens? The encystment takes place. They are thrown out through the maturation, cyst formation, quadranucleate formation, and again they are entering in by contaminated water or food. So this cycle repeats and this causes serious disease, that is amoebic dysentery. So due to the loss of water, a person may die also. So this is also very important life cycle, and please study this also. So this is the explanation which I have given. So please read it, and these are the references which I have referred for this notes or the PPT. So that's all about this session. Thank you.